The Vel'chirn hailed us on a Tuesday. Not a distress signal, not a docking request, a hail. The formal kind, with the rotating sigil that means you are summoned rather than invited. I was 3 hours out from the Karath way station, running a load of miscellaneous salvage for a recycling depot on the far edge of the Thresh corridor. The Meridian Drift isn't a fast ship. She's not a pretty ship. She's got a secondary coolant manifold held together with a compression clamp I machined myself, cargo door that requires a specific sequence of 4 inputs and a firm shoulder to seal properly, and a main coupling junction I rebuilt from 3 separate salvage yard parts sometime in the winter before last. She runs, is the point. She has run, without a misdelivery, for 6 years. I don't ask much more of her than that. The Vel'chirn flagship was a different sort of vessel. It hung in the corridor like something carved from a single piece of deep blue resin. Smooth hull plates, no visible seams at the joins. Running lights, spaced with the kind of regularity that suggests a machine did it. The thing was half a kilometer long. The Meridian Drift is 42 meters keel to stern. I mention this for scale. They wanted me to come aboard, which I did. 2 of their crew met me at the lock. Tall, chitinous, copper-shelled. The kind of build that makes you aware of how much empty space is inside, human being by comparison. They didn't say much. They led me up a corridor that smelled like ion wash and cold metal, and they brought me to the bridge. Commander Vel'chirn was waiting. I knew the rank from the coloration on the shoulder plating. Darker copper, almost brown, with a thin line of iridescence along the dorsal ridge. He had the posture of someone who has not been wrong about anything in a while. Cargo Crew Chief Tamboli, he said. He had a translator running, which produced a pleasantly flat approximation of my name. Your vessel has been flagged for a routine customs assessment. We appreciate your cooperation. It wasn't a customs assessment. I knew that because the Meridian Drift had been transmitting her full manifest since the hail came in. Standard protocol, nothing hidden, literally a list of broken compressors, a pallet of stripped wire spool, 6 decommissioned relay housings, and 400 kilograms of assorted coupling components in varying states of wear. There is nothing in that manifest that requires inspection. There is nothing in it that could alarm anyone. But the bridge crew was looking at the manifest projection with the particular attention of people who are enjoying themselves, and I could see 2 of them exchanging in the fast, chitinous click language that the translator doesn't catch. One of them, junior rank, judging by the pale plating, had the shoulder posture of someone working very hard not to make a sound. Vel'chirn gestured toward the projection. 400 kilograms of coupling components, he said. Described as, he paused, miscellaneous salvage. That's accurate, I said. Of what grade? Mixed, I said. Some Karath standard, some Thresh spec. Some I machined or adapted, whatever was available. He looked at the manifest for another moment. Then he looked back at me. And your vessel's primary junction? Rebuilt, I said, about 18 months ago. From salvage, I said. There was a sound from the junior rank crew member that the translator rendered as a cough but wasn't. The commander allowed himself something that, a human face, would have been a faint smile. On a Vel'chirn it manifests as a slight forward tilt of the cranial shell, an angle I'd seen in enough coalition briefings to recognize. He walked me through the flagship systems after that, not quickly and not incidentally. He showed me the primary drive array, trip redundant, Vel'chirn fleet standard, machined to tolerances that require a dedicated fabrication platform to achieve. He showed me the coupling junctions, standardized, factory-fitted, designed to interface with any coalition vessel within 3 generations. He mentioned, while we were looking at the junction assembly, that the Meridian Drift's primary coupling had shown an irregular power signature on their approach sensors. He said this the way someone mentions that they noticed a loose thread on your coat. It runs, I said. He tilted his shell forward again. We were on the bridge for another 20 minutes or so. The crew continued to find the manifest interesting. Someone pulled up the Meridian Drift's general profile, registration year, maintenance history, the compression clamp on the secondary coolant manifold. And there was another exchange in click language that the translator declined to reproduce. I stood and let them have it, because there wasn't anything to say that would have improved the situation, and also because it was all accurate. Then the flagship's primary tether drive coupling failed. It didn't fail dramatically. There was no alarm, no lurch, no cinematic flicker of the lights. The coupling diagnostic just went from green to amber. And then a technician at the far console said something in rapid Vel'chirn that the translator caught as primary junction bridge, fault at the secondary interface. Breach in the link seal. The bridge went quiet in the specific way that large, smooth-running operations go quiet when they've encountered a thing they didn't plan for. Vel'chirn turned to his technician. They had a short conversation. Then he turned to a second technician. Shorter conversation. Then he was quiet. For a moment, in the way people are quiet when they've already thought of the obvious solutions and none of them have worked. The secondary interface was a Vel'chirn fleet standard component, which meant the only fitting replacements were other Vel'chirn fleet standard components, of which the nearest supply depot was 6 hours out. Without the bridge link, the tether drive was offline. Without the tether drive, the flagship wasn't going anywhere, except slowly, on maneuvering thrusters in the direction of Karath way station. I'd been standing aside of the bridge, not saying anything. I said, "What's the bridge seal diameter?" Vel'chirn looked at me. 18.3 millimeters. Vel'chirn standard. I thought about the 400 kilograms of coupling components in the Meridian Drift's hold. I thought about a particular junction splice I'd built 8 or 9 months ago from a thresh relay housing and a length of Karath compression tubing because I'd needed something to bridge 2 non-standard interfaces and didn't have the right part. I had 2 of them in a bin in the portside cargo rack. I hadn't sold them at Karath because nobody there buys non-standard components, and I was going to try the depot on the far end of the corridor, where standards are more of a suggestion. "I'd need to look at the junction," I said. He let me look at it. I was down in the drive compartment for about 12 minutes. I measured the breach, measured the housing diameter, confirmed the power rating fell inside what the splice could handle. Then I went back to my ship, found the bin, took one of the splices, brought it across. It took me 40 minutes to install it. I had my own tools. The Vel'chirn crew watched with the same expression they'd been wearing since the manifest projection, except quieter. The splice isn't elegant. It's a thresh collar on a Karath tube with a machined sleeve I made myself. And it looks like exactly what it is. It's seated cleanly, the interface sealed, and when the technician ran the diagnostic, the bridge link came up green. I packed my tools. The flagship's tether drive ran its startup sequence, which sounded like a very expensive machine, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Vel'chirn stood across the compartment. He looked at the junction for a long moment. Then he looked at me, he said, "What do you call that component?" "Miscellaneous salvage," I said. He was quiet for a few seconds. The cranial shell didn't tilt forward this time. I went back to my ship. I filed the splice under outbound cargo. 1 unit miscellaneous salvage, delivered in the thresh corridor. I listed the destination as Vel'chirn Fleet Standard Junction Housing, primary drive compartment, which I thought was descriptive enough. Then I continued on to the recycling depot, 3 hours behind schedule, with 400 kilograms of components -1. They paid for the part. They were prompt about it. The invoice said, miscellaneous coupling component, non-standard, and nobody at their procurement office flagged it for clarification. I didn't expect them to.